Hello, everyone, and welcome to PAEA's March webinar. Tonight, a group of future art teachers will share their experiences from a national conference. We will hear from Alessandra Metz, Erin A. Hoover, Mindy Steiger, Alexandra Bartholomew, and one of our PAEA Pre-Service Division co-chairs, Carrie Marini, who are all currently working on their degrees at Kutztown University. Registered participants will receive a Google Form link via email in a day or two to fill out for their 1 hour Back 48 credit. This webinar will be recorded and available at a later date on the PAEA website. Before we begin the webinar, we are asking participants to mute their microphones and keep their video off. Those controls are located in the bottom left corner of the controls bar. We are also asking everyone to sign in on the chat roll. Please use the same name in which you registered for this event. The chat roll can be found along the bottom in the controls bar as well. Signing in will ensure that you receive the Act 48 link. Let's get this webinar rolling. Ladies, take it away.
Thank you. Hello. As was mentioned, we are Kutztown University's students, pre-service art education students, and we are here to talk about our experiences in Boston.
All right, well, to get started, do you want to
I see an amazing athlete. I see really cool.
For some reason, I'm not seeing things. There we go.
So I am Alexandra Bartholomew. I am the current president of the National Art Education Student Chapter here at Kutztown. I'm also a junior in my degree, and so that means that this time next year I'll be student teaching. And at the time of the conference, I was the treasurer of our student chapter, so I was really focused on funding and how we were going to afford this trip and how we're going to make this happen for our members.
We're just going to go down and introduce ourselves. So my name is Carrie Marini. At the time, I was conference chair for our student chapter. I'm currently student teaching in the secondary school. I'm in a high school right now, and I'm also on the PAEA board for pre-service.
I'm Erin A. Hoover, and I'm currently a senior at Kutztown University for the certification program. I'm also student teaching at the Kutztown Middle School with Kristen Turk, and enjoying that experience very much. At the time of Boston, I was the membership chair for the NAEA chapter here, and I got to design the lovely t-shirts you'll see us wearing, which was really exciting. Yeah.
So I'm Mindy Steiger. I am currently a senior, but I'm not student teaching just yet. I'll be student teaching in the fall. At the time of the Boston conference, I was the vice president of the NAEA student chapter.
Hi, I'm Alessandra Metz. I'm the current past president of Kutztown University's student chapter of NAEA. At the time of the conference, I was the president, and we were all just trying to figure everything out together, so I was really happy to be a part of that. I'm also currently student teaching at Roberto Clement High School, and I guess we're ready to get started on our PowerPoint. Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Okay, so our starting off with just our first impressions of the conference and basically how we planned to do this big excursion. So we started real early. We started over our winter break, which is about January, and we really got emails out just gauging how many members were interested in attending the conference. So we made it a point to take this on as a team because it is a big planning event. So a lot to do with our treasurer, our conference chair, our vice president, obviously our president, just trying to get the most out of the experience, but early on, and trying to plan as soon as possible. So also so one thing we recommend is to look at all options. So currently our student chapter, we're looking into Airbnbs and hotels and many different types of travel. So for the Boston conference, we had Mindy and myself, we drove to Boston, which is about a 6-hour drive. It was a hardy drive.
Actually, we made it there in like 4.5 hours.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, all right.
No.
And then Ali, Erin, and Carrie here, they actually flew to Boston. So yeah, so we were just we just want everybody to look into all possible options in travel logistics and looking at prices. We tried to get like a solid amount to the members that were attending about a month in advance, so that everybody could start to gauge their funding and everything. So another thing that we recommend with staying organized is to talk to experienced individuals, like people who have already attended the conference. So our professors were probably our number one source for this, because they're pros at navigating these conferences. So we talked to them about like how they were traveling, where they were staying, just everything. And also our office of the KUSSI office, which is basically the bank of Kutztown. It holds all the money. It's where all the different types of clubs and activities and stuff go through the KUSSI office. So we spent a lot of time in there talking to the women at the front desk and basically just getting their input on best ways to travel, best airlines to travel, best routes to take, just every possible option that we could think of, and then sharing that with one another so that we had like gauging interests. We sent out a couple polls too, saying just like gauging whether people were okay with staying in an Airbnb or a hotel. For Boston, we stayed in a hotel, but as I said, for this Minneapolis conference coming up, they are staying in an Airbnb. So as I mentioned earlier, I was the current treasurer when we were in Boston. So one of my biggest things when we were there is keeping our receipts. Another aspect of staying organized while we were there. I actually had a folder for each person that was going, that they had the folder and they could just pop their receipts in their purse right away, so we could keep account of that. We held many information meetings with Carrie, our member or conference chair, chair, a lot of chairs. But we had a lot of information meetings leading up to the conference, just so that everybody was on the same page and we knew where we were going, when we were going, all of that.
An important thing about saving the receipts for us was, the reason we saved them was so that we can keep track of the costs for everything and take it back to our KUSSI and get funding to go to the conference. It's very likely that your university can provide some kind of accommodation or reimbursement to students that are attending. Through our experience going to previous conferences, we were able to petition for more money. Alexandria and I went to the Student Government Board and got almost $800 in addition to what we were already given.
Which just about doubled our funding. Yeah,
it was really significant, and that's why it's so important to keep those receipts.
Okay, so getting the most out of our experience. So we actually decided to arrive on Wednesday, even though the conference started on Thursday, just so we could we wanted to see the city. We didn't just want to go to the conference. We wanted to experience Boston. So on our first day, we went to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and it was a great way to kind of get the weekend rolling and spending some quality time together, and yeah, just kind of relaxing before we really hit the ground running. And so one thing we wanted to touch on was your conference passes that you will receive. They come included with a bunch of different facilities that you can attend. So like
the pre-conference workshops.
Yeah.
So I was the only one, I guess, out of all 5 of us that did a pre-conference workshop, while the rest of them went and visited museums. I did a pre-conference workshop, mixed media studio. I didn't really know what I was getting into. It kind of sounded interesting when I was looking through all of them. there's over 50 plus workshops to choose from, ranging from like trips to different studio processes, kind of a range of everything. And this mixed media studio sounded so interesting. And so I highly recommend you looking at any of the pre-conference workshops if you do have the day or two to spare before the conference. It was really a great way to like relax and reset. I found myself kind of like, it was a way to de-stress. And I don't know about anybody else here, but you know, when you go through school and you're doing all these projects for like to get a grade, and to finally be somewhere and somebody tell you, oh, okay, like make whatever you want. You're like, whoa, like, what am I gonna make? Like, you know, I'm not given this like type of freedom. So that was like really kind of, you know, helped me de-stress a bit. It was also a way to leave everything else behind and kind of become more present and, you know, at the conference. And it was also a great way to network. I was, I think, the only pre-service member in my workshop, which is okay. You know, but I heard a lot of different school stories, and I met so many people from across the country. I don't think in my workshop there were people from different countries, but you know, all around the USA. That was kind of really cool. Yeah, so it's a great, I think the pre-conference workshops are really a great investment, especially if you have the day or two to spare.
How much did this conference workshop cost for you?
I think the one that I did was around $55. I was looking at the ones for this conference. They are a little bit more pricey, but if you like scroll down the list, there are like some like $50 ones. If you're going more cost-effective route, but really like take time, look at them. I think I spent probably like over 2-3 hours looking at them to finally pick one.
It's a big list, yeah.
But like there's so many to choose from, and you look at all of them and you're like, well, do I have this? I think my workshop was 7 hours. You do get a break for lunch, which I did meet up with everybody else and we had lunch together in the mall. But yeah, so it's a really cool experience. So I highly recommend doing any pre-conference workshop. And so now we're gonna move on to figuring out your schedule.
All right, so when you first get there, there's a registration desk, and that's where you're checking in, you get all the information, and it's kind of an overload, but take the time to sort through the book. And this is the picture of the book from the Boston conference. What I like to do was get my highlighter out and just like pick all the ones out that I really thought were interesting, just so I could narrow my focus. But there are other opportunities to, you know, use the resources. So they have, in the book, you can see that they have a session format. So there are several different formats, and they overview it and they explain what each one was. But the 3 that I wanted to focus on were the general sessions, the artist series, and the super sessions. So the general sessions, that's all about the keynote speakers. That year they had Amy Sherald and Howard Gardner. Those were 2 that I went to. I think we all went to those ones. There are no other sessions at that time, so you're not missing out on anything else. It's totally focused on them.
They want you to be there.
Yeah, they want you to hear them out because they, you know, they put so much money towards getting those people here.
Big names.
They're big names, yeah. So the exhibit hall is even closed, and we'll talk more on all this stuff. But the artist series, those are practicing artists and educators. They're usually based near the convention city. So you'll see a lot of people who are presenting for sessions are people who are from Boston or, you know, from around the world or just in the country. But a lot of them are from that area. And so it's really interesting to see their stance on art education in that big city. And then the super sessions, those are specially curated sessions that are reflecting on topics that align with the needs of NAEA members and the strategic vision of the association. So those are pretty cool. Peter Reynolds did that, was a super session speaker for that one. We'll talk more on all of these things.
So another option, if you don't want to get your highlighter out and wait until you get to the conference to clear everything up, you can get the NAEA app beforehand. So in the App Store, just search NAEA. It looks like the NAEA logo, the red box, and then when you download it, you'll pick the conference that you're attending. So the pictures up here are for the upcoming conference. This is your home screen. So you can look at exhibitors, you can look at the sessions, you can have your own schedule. It was basically my life during the conference. So I downloaded it before I went there, and I think I had my first day already planned out. So that first night when everyone else is flipping through their book, I could kind of relax. I didn't have to stress too much about it. So on the right, you can see how it's kind of sorted out. You pick the day, the time, and there's all the different sessions that are happening. It tells you where they are, tells you who's presenting, what division it's in. So when you go through whatever's interesting in, just star it, and that'll automatically go into your schedule. So you can star a few of them, and then on the spot, look at your schedule, see which one you want to go to. Maybe one's kind of far, you don't want to walk all the way. Maybe it's not interesting anymore. Maybe you just went to a session that kind of touched on the next topic, so you can kind of on the fly just pick the next one you want to go to. It has a list of all the exhibitors who will be in the exhibit hall. You can plan to meet up with someone on the app, and so you can plan who you want to meet up with, where you want to meet. So it's a great way to network. You can get all of your resources for people who are presenting. So you can see their PowerPoints, any resources they want to share with you. You can get those right on your app.
Email, their email, contact information.
Yeah, the other nice thing is that if there's any changes that are made during the conference, they will come up as a notification on this app, and you will know right away. So you can make your necessary changes for that way. So if there's a session that's canceled for any reason, that will take it off of your schedule, and you can add something in its place.
So definitely right after that session, you look at your schedule, look at what you have planned next. Maybe the next one you went to is now canceled. So you don't have to walk all the way there to find out. You can just see before you go anywhere. And next thing we're going to talk about is the exhibit hall. So I don't know about you, but I am a big fan of free stuff. And you can see me there on the right with my 2 huge bags of free stuff from the exhibit hall. It has stuff ranging from posters to art supplies to different activities you can try out. You can see Mindy there trying out. Do you want to talk about what you were doing?
Oh, I was trying some felting. I've never actually done felting before, and it was really cool to kind of play a little bit in the exhibition hall. And then this particular booth actually gave us a little kit to take home.
Kit.
Yeah,
a
a
kit.
sample.
It was a good deal because I got to use that for my textiles class that came up the next semester, and it was actually an investment that I didn't have to make. And it was totally worth, you stay in line and then you wait your turn and then you do your little sample and then they give you your item. It was totally worth it. And we all got to stand there next to each other, and it was just fun.
Yeah, so they really show you how to use the supplies before taking them. So you're not just taking supplies that you don't know how to use. They're showing you how to use them, how you could use them in your classroom. A lot of the stands had lesson examples, whole lesson written up that you could use certain supplies for, how you could use them in your classroom, how you could adapt them. So many great resources. You definitely have to take your time in the exhibit hall. It's huge. Very, very huge. I went back many, many times. You can't do it all at once. It's too much to do at once. You can network there as well. I waited in line for probably around 2-3 hours to meet Peter Reynolds in the middle there. There's a picture of us together. He signed some books. It was extremely exciting. So you can meet famous people. You can meet what? Yes, Cassie Stevens, met her too. Or you can just, while waiting in line, I was talking to some other educators. We were all talking about, they were talking about their experiences. I didn't have as many experiences to talk about, but it was cool to hear all of their stories, how things run in their classrooms, kind of sharing resources and helping each other out, which was really cool.
I think that even as pre-service, though, when you talk to educators that are in the field, they're so excited to know that there's pre-service members that are also at the conference. And they want to talk to us. They want to hear what we're doing in school and how we're preparing and where we're at in our field right now. And it's exciting. It's just it's a nice community.
They're very eager to help.
And this might go without saying, but the exhibit hall is open usually all day. So oftentimes we would pick out a time in our schedule that we would just want to take a break, maybe from sitting lecture style in in the sessions, and we would want to go and actually do something with our hands. And you can do that in the exhibit hall and just walk around, get some exercise in. So that was often what we decided to do at the exhibit hall.
And play. Like I feel like at every single stand, there's the vendors there are just encouraging you to just try stuff and ask questions.
They're so nice.
Yeah.
People from all over the world.
So going off of talking about sessions and experiencing that lecture hall like experience, this is more in depth about what the big sessions were about. So the super sessions, we had Peter Reynolds. Carrie, do you want to talk on that? Because you're a super huge fan.
Yes, I was very, very excited that he would be there. I mean, I just said I waited in line a long time to meet him. He kind of spoke about, well, of course, he spoke about the dot. He spoke about dot day, different ways you could incorporate dot day, books, just literature in general to your classroom, how you could get books published for your students and kind of get them into the class, which is a really cool project idea. Kind of how he got to where he is, and it was just, I didn't realize he would be there beforehand, and I was just extremely excited to see him there.
Yeah, so I got to see the general session, so that had Howard Gardner and Amy Sherrill. These people are very significant in the art world in a general sense, and they really gave a lot of insight into their research and what they are doing and how it affects the art world and art education itself. Howard Gardner, I've always admired his work, and I incorporate his theories of multiple intelligences into the way that I, interact with the world. So hearing him speak was really, I don't know, I just was like so excited, and I took so many notes, but it was inspirational, and he talked about things that I never heard him talk about before. And it was very helpful because a professor of ours did we had to read over like the interview that he did at the conference, and we got to reflect on that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like super reflection mode. I get to listen. I listened to him talk at this. I saw this happen. Yeah. So it was really cool hearing him talk. And then Amy Sherrill, she talked about her artistic process and why she makes art, who her audience is, and what kind of impact she wants to have on the world through her art. As you may know, she did the Michelle Obama portrait, which is just, it's amazing that, she's an African-American female artist that is doing something so like momentous for the country. And it just was so cool seeing her speak. Another really cool speaker that I got to see was Natalie Meinbach. She was an artist that I did my first lesson on, and she kind of does STEAM kind of stuff. But I did a lesson on her, my first methods course, and I saw her eating at the lunch at a restaurant nearby the conference, and I was eating my food from a distance, like watching. I was so excited to see her. I walked over and I said, hey, you don't know me, but I wrote a lesson about you and your work, and I really admire you. And it was I never thought I would ever get to meet and see these people in person. So taking opportunities like that is so important, and going to these sessions is like, do it, just do it. Nothing else is scheduled at that time, so it's worth your time, and you gain so much from it. Another thing we didn't really touch on was that in our bag when we register, they give you the book, and they also give you a little notebook, so you can be taking notes the whole time. And this is like my baby. Like, I filled the whole thing up, and I look at it even today when I'm planning lessons. It's so helpful, because if you're stuck, you're like, oh wait, there was that one thing I wrote at this one session.
Provides so much inspiration.
It inspires you.
Sometimes that's where I start with my lesson plans. Like just flipping through, and then like just ideas just come right to you.
It's really cool to bring that back to your students too. Like if you're doing a lesson on this artist, say like, hey, I met them, I heard them talk, and then it's not, you're just hoping you're getting the correct information from their
You're
artwork,
right from the source.
then you know exactly what they mean. You're not getting it from other reporters. Like, you heard them say exactly how they got there, exactly what they're doing with this piece. So you know you can just take that knowledge, share it straight to your students.
Those experiences are really valuable.
Yeah.
All right, so to bring things back to our overall trip rather than just a conference. So as I said before, this was more than just a conference for us. We wanted to experience Boston. So what we did on the first day, as I mentioned earlier, we went to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. So these are some silly images of us at the museum. And then even as you go throughout your day, it gets very stressful and tiring in some points, even though we constantly taking our self-care. So like one thing we wanted to mention is just like to constantly be going on walks. Like I feel like a lot of the time we were out walking the city, we were finding food, but that's all right. Like, you have to eat. And yeah, so we were again using our resources and hearing from other people that just at the conference and our professors, like places to attend and different ways of us going out. Like one night we went out for bowling and like dinner and bowling together, just as like a little like just bonding and just hanging out and de-stressing.
And with your registration, you can get discounts and kind of free experiences throughout the city. So we actually got into this museum for free because it was included with our registration badge. There's different discounts, so make sure you look at those, see if there's a discount for a restaurant nearby. Maybe you can get your coffee in the morning for 1% off, so you're not spending the most. Make sure you look at all of your resources, take in everything that you can get from it.
Plan and plan and plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of planning, finding food is very important at this conference, and we will stress this because it's huge. Yeah, food is your energy. So one thing in your booklet and in the app, you will not see a spot for lunch. So make sure that you take the time to schedule that when you want to go for this. This is autonomous, right? This is on you. So make sure that you plan out a time where you're not going to go to any sessions and you're just going to have lunch. You're going to go outside and try to find somewhere around, depending on where the conference center is. I found a Trader Joe's that was right across the street, and that worked really well for me. I often got snacks that were bagged, or there were pre-packaged meals that I could take with me on the go, and that was really beneficial. I found myself going back there for lunch each day, and that was something that I could just carry around with me in my bag and munch on while I was at sessions, and that kept me really on track with food. Yes, energize is very important.
We can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Because it's just very easy to just keep picking your sessions, favoriting what you want to go to, filling up your schedule. Everything's exciting. You want to go to as much as you can, gain all of that knowledge.
Don't want to miss out.
But it's so easy to forget about lunch. So don't do what I did. I don't think I ate lunch once. I just got so excited planning all those sessions. I just wanted to go to everything. I didn't want to miss anything. Just, it's so easy to forget about that. Make sure, just put a reminder in your phone. Just even if you don't want to miss it, like make sure you go, like Erin said, bring snacks around so you're still eating. Yes, it would get to be like dinner time and I'd be like, oh no, I haven't eaten anything.
Well, there was one good thing about doing that is you didn't spend too much money.
I did not. I saved a lot.
She spent the least amount of money at the conference, and that's why food is expensive. So if you can plan ahead and go to somewhere like Trader Joe's or like a grocery store and get like a pack of 6 for like a little snack, you could save money that way. I ended up spending like the most money because I was super hungry. I would stop and get Dunkin' like every day, and it just became added up. That couple of bucks I would spend, it added up. So just be aware of the fact that, okay, you got to feed yourself and like build that into your own schedule, because they're not they're not cutting any time out for
Nobody's
you to get your
reminding
food.
you.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no food within the conference
Yeah.
really hanging
Mhm.
around for you. The exhibit hall doesn't really have food.
Yeah, the other thing about the conference center, and this might depend on where you are, but conference center we were at did not have any place to eat. So even when you brought your food in, you had to sit on the floor. And people were doing that. There were tons of people that that were sitting there
No
eating, and
shame.
we're like, oh, okay, this is okay.
This is
We
how
can
we
do
do it,
this.
okay.
Yeah, we can fit into this.
No
and
judgment.
yeah, and just eat because you need to eat, and people realized that, and we were able to do that.
I think one thing we didn't touch on at the conference, it's kind of free reign, so you can come and go to any session as you
Yes.
please. So as
Yes.
Erin mentioned, she would go out and grab food, but then you could even come and bring that in, or sit even at a session and eat a snack real quick,
Yeah.
just little things.
And
Absolutely.
even if you're at a session, you find out hey, you know what? This isn't what I thought it would be.
Mhm.
This isn't maybe for me.
Yeah.
You can leave at any time. Nobody cares.
Mhm.
Maybe go to a different one. Maybe take that time to go to the exhibit hall. Go find food.
Yes.
It's come and go as you please. Nobody's forcing you to be anywhere. If you
Free
start in a
reign.
session, you don't have to end in that same one. You have to
Exactly.
stay the whole time.
That's right.
And it's as long as you're doing it in a respectful manner, if you're quietly leaving, it's not, nobody sees it as a problem.
And people are doing it all the time.
Yeah.
It's not an unusual thing. Yeah. So another thing that we encourage you to do if you're going to a conference for the first time is to take opportunities to meet up with friends over a meal or a treat. This was something that we were able to do in our time in Boston, and we actually met up with some of our professors, which was really sweet. They got gelato for us, which was so wonderful.
Yeah, and then we also went to Cheesecake Factory with another one of our
Yes,
professors.
yes, and this is really special because some of them were presenting, and they were taking this time out to meet with us and to ask us how our experience was going, our very first conference. So this was really exciting for us,
Yeah.
and a great opportunity.
Yeah, especially as an opportunity, a lot of students who attend your university, if you see your professors there, you're getting one-on-one time with them,
Mhm.
and it doesn't go unnoticed. Your professors then see you as this dedicated student who is trying to better themselves and learn and improve and bring a whole new life into the field. And that's exactly our intentions as students. And to be able to be recognized as doing that is I think it's significant, and I think it's really great that we have this relationship with our professors now. They see us and they're like, oh, those are the girls.
They were so proud and excited for us. Anytime I would just see them walking around, they would give me big hugs, and it was I don't know, it was like seeing your mom on on the playground.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh.
We were
But-
so excited to see them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our professor, Dr. Amy Father Wonder, was initiated onto the board, and we were cheering the loudest in the crowd from the very top seats. We were so excited for her.
Mhm.
We're all excited for each other. It's great to reflect with not just our peers, but with our professors. Can we see what they're gaining from the conference, with their years of experience, what they're getting from it, and just, I don't know, it's just really nice to meet up with everyone.
I attended Dr. Nicole Romansky's, another one of our professors. I attended her session, and at the time I was actually one of her methods classes. So when we came after the conference, when we came back to school, she was explaining a little bit of her session that she presented, and she was like, "Allie, will you chime in? What did you take away?" So we it was a great back and forth relationship, and it was nice to see her in that different way.
Mhm.
So a big thing we wanted to touch on is, and we have many times throughout this already, is socializing and networking. As Mindy said, we were talking about the pre-conference workshops, attending workshops in general, and she mentioned that not all of them are going to cost a bunch of money. Some of them range from free to $55, or even more.
Yeah.
But we found a workshop that was free, and it seemed that none of us had anywhere else to be. Well, some of us were like, okay, I want to go here, and we figured something out where half of us went to this knot tying workshop, Chinese knot tying workshop, and we found free tickets that were posted on a little bulletin board. That was super cool because a lot of people who would pick up a ticket or register for a ticket, they get it in their registration bag, and then they might decide later, like, I pretty much took all the free workshops and then picked up my registration bag and didn't go to like half of them. We realized there was a bulletin board where people were posting their free tickets or their tickets for paid workshops, and you could choose which ones you wanted to go to based on their availability. So we found tickets for each of us to go to the workshops we wanted to in that time. And it was Erinay, Ali, Bart, and myself who went to the Chinese knot tying. This turned out to be a totally surprising and great experience.
One of our favorites in the
It
conference.
was really a night to remember.
Yeah.
It was later in the evening, and we got there, and we were totally like, what's happening? Where are we? But it was really amazing to hear from these people came from China, and they run a smart art program. It was so inspiring to hear how they develop their curriculum and how they approach it. And
including the family in
yes,
the art making, which was amazing. Yeah.
So they were really big on a lot of things that resonated with us. So watching their workshop was inspiring, and we just were so thrilled to be there. So by the end of the workshop, we got a free sample, we had a little Chinese knot, and we got to draw some calligraphy and Chinese symbols. And we went up to the people who were presenting and said, oh my goodness, that was such a great workshop. Thank you for coming here. And we just wanted to express our gratitude towards them, like, you know, coming from China and bringing all this stuff for us.
And the woman that was like the lead speaker didn't even speak English. So she had a translator, but you could so obviously tell she was running this workshop, and like she was
so
in
much
charge.
passion.
So much passion, and like they just wanted us to learn and experience what they taught
and share and network. I felt like they were there to network. They wanted to spread their ideas, and they wanted to hear ours. They heard about us talking about STEAM, and that was something interesting to them. But we walked up to them by the end of the session, and we were like expressing our gratitude, and they were just enthralled by us. Like, they were taking pictures. They got out. They had like 5 cameras on us. It felt like paparazzi. I don't know where those pictures are now, but they tried to gift us the little Chinese knots that you could see in her hand right here. They had 2 of the small ones, and they gave those to Erinay and Ali Bart, and they didn't have one for me, but they ended up giving me this giant one that they used to hang on the door.
It's a display.
It was
a
display.
They gave it to us.
I was shocked by this decision that they made. And I told them,
sure?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know
like,
if you
no,
really want to give this to me. But eventually they really wanted to give it to me. So I was like, okay, I accept this gift. Oh my gosh, how do I even say this? Like, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a remarkable experience that I will never forget, and I have that that item hung in my bedroom, and I look at it every day and think, oh my, what an experience. And I can't wait to teach my future students about this experience and their culture and everything that I learned from that, and go even further with it. So
you really never know what's going to happen at these sessions.
Exactly.
It's a surprise, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, so so we were also thinking about self-care and being present in your moment. There's a lot of anxiety that builds up as you go in these conferences. A big thing for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to this, was FOMO, fear of missing out. It's so relevant. I don't think I did planning that well, and I think using the app would have been way more helpful. But just know that if you don't go to all the sessions you wanted to, it's okay. You have colleagues, you have people who you may not have met yet. There are people who are going to give you the experiences that you desire. You can't go in there with expectations. You kind of just have to make of it what you can, and just know that it's okay to miss that one session you wanted to go to. I remember I went into a session that was totally jam-packed, there were people sitting on the floors, like piled up to the wall. And I like weaseled my way in with Erne, and we sat down, and I just got filled with anxiety. I was like, oh wait, there's another session that I really want to be at. This one's scary. This one's too many people. I freaked out and ended up just like on the fly, and I left. And then I realized as soon as I exited the door that my session that I really wanted to go to was in another hour. So I made that decision on the fly. It probably wasn't it's hard to think back because any decision you make is hard. So in ways, I might have felt like I missed out on that session, but at the end of the day, I probably would have been so anxious with all those people in there.
It's what you needed at that moment.
Yeah, I don't think that it would have been. So it's okay if you leave a session. It's okay if you feel overwhelmed. Take a break. You know what I mean? It's okay to sit on the floor too. Take a break though. Take a walk, breathe. Definitely breathe a lot. Take deep breaths. You know what I mean? It's zen. Keep it good vibes.
Like, it's such an amazing experience. And there's so many great sessions at the national conference that like missing out on just one, like you're gonna hit so many more amazing ones.
And you might not miss out because you can learn anything from anyone at any moment. Just sitting down in a session waiting for the next one to start, people next to you will start talking to you. They'll talk to you about maybe their classroom, maybe a good session they just went to. You never know what information you're going to gain at any given moment. Like somebody could tell you about a session you didn't even think about going to, and now they're a complete stranger is giving you all of this knowledge that you didn't even think you were going to get.
There's actually a lot of times that I learned more from the people who are sitting around me than I might have learned from the session speaker. It was just part of the discussion that was happening in the room. And oftentimes the speakers would be like, hey, I want to hear from you all. You have the experience, you have the diverse experience. So let's raise our hands and have a discussion. What have been your experiences with this topic? And then we would just share out aloud. And there were so much knowledge that was gained, diverse knowledge, that was so very helpful, especially as a pre-service student who's like, I don't have any experience yet.
So it's soaking it all up.
Yes, like a sponge.
All right, so another big thing that we did a lot, it mostly occurred when we were back in the hotel, but you got to reflect on your day. If you went to the conference with a group of people, even if you just went by yourself and you want to FaceTime somebody or call somebody up and tell them about your day, it's a great way to reflect on your day and let other people know what you're doing. So like sharing different, sessions you went to or workshops that you attended, showing everybody what you did. I know one session that I wanted to attend was on how to make an escape room. And I went there and
I didn't know she did that.
I went to that session and then they ended up having technical difficulties, but I was like, you know what? It's okay because I already made an escape room that I'm pretty proud of myself, which I did. I made one, I think the semester before. I was currently making one that we did at our Friday night out that we host here. And so I was like, I don't need to go to that session, but if I got notes on it, it would have been great to share it with everybody. But yeah, so you really got to share like what was the best session you attended or like what was the best takeaway you had for the day, because as you can tell, all of us have all this knowledge from all these sessions that really impact us and where we're going in the pre-service field right now. Absolutely.
All right, so first we want to thank you guys for tuning in, but I wanted to ask my fellow members here. So if you guys give any piece of advice to a first-time pre-service member who is attending the national conference, what would you give them?
I think definitely looking at things in advance, kind of having that research beforehand helps you to be less overwhelmed. Like the app really made me feel a lot better going into it. I looked around at things that are around Boston, like different places we could eat. I mean, getting there, sometimes they weren't the best options, but just having that list before you're going so you're not stressed at the moment. And it was really nice having my first day kind of mapped out with sessions so I could just take the night before to breathe. I didn't have to stress too much. Everyone else was really trying to highlight their whole book, figuring everything out right away.
Pick out your outfit.
I could relax. I could go to bed. I could just take a shower, decompress from the trip there. So I think just researching where you're going to be, planning ahead, the app was my best friend.
Definitely use the app.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say just keeping in mind that you have choice in this. So it goes along with not getting overwhelmed, just realizing, stopping and being like, oh, I can actually decide what I want to do here. I'm not regulated by anyone else. I have the decision. Oftentimes we were all separate. I don't think we really talked about like how we went about going to sessions together. If we decided to do that, sometimes we were together.
But it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
it
When
wasn't
we walked
planned.
in.
Yeah, it was
Oh my
not
gosh.
planned. We were like, oh, well, I want to go this way, but you're going that way. That's okay. You know, we'll see
you
each other
later.
later.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
later.
Or
We
you
had a
walk into a
time.
session and you're like, oh, I didn't know you were
Pleasantly-
going.
yeah,
there.
pleasantly
Like,
We had a time
Yes.
to meet up, a time and a place where we met
Yes.
every night.
You see the commonalities between
Yes.
where you're going when you meet up with somebody accidentally.
So don't worry about maybe leaving your fellow members like that. It's going to be fluid all day. So you have choice in all of that.
I would say going along what Allie brought up before about the fear of missing out, there's over 100 different workshops, sessions, everything. They do that so that there's choice. So, I mean, yes, you're going to have like 5 things on your list, like, which one am I going to choose? Like, I have to narrow it down. Like, I can't be in 5 places at once. But definitely, you know, take the time and look at, you know, all the different options you have. Take the time to maybe even have a little free time, like take a break.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a break.
Absolutely.
What I would say is definitely have a plan, but don't feel too attached to the plan. Like, you want to feel flexible. It is a fluid experience. Like, it's definitely really good to have a plan. I wish I had a better plan, and the app probably would have been really helpful for me. But if you last minute do make a decision to go to a different conference or a different session, say the same conference. If you go to a different session, that's okay. You're still going to gain something from it. And I would say the most important thing is to have fun. Like, we were goofing off. We were professional, but we were goofing. We had a blast just like walking around the city and experiencing what it was like to be in Boston itself. So definitely remember all these things. We had a lot of insights.
I think my answer kind of goes along with Allie's as well. Go to some different sessions, like some sessions that maybe you wouldn't have normally picked. I went to one session about this woman who taught at a jail for a year, and I learned so much just about her experience and her people and just how to deal with just a variety of people. And yeah, that was just branch out a little bit. Don't be afraid to try something new.
What does this say?
Hello, everyone, again.
There was a thing on our screen. We didn't know what it said.
Okay,
We were
so
making sure.
now we're gonna open the floor up to some questions. Okay.
Yes, if you have any questions for our presenters, please feel free to type them into the chat roll and they will answer them for you.
Do you want to sit here?
Yeah.
Well, that went well. Thank you for listening again.
Yeah.
This is our first time.
Yeah.
We're really nervous.
Or anything.
Why don't you read some questions
Okay.
aloud?
What can't hear very well. Okay.
We're sorry. There's a question.
Okay, yeah, at the bottom. Okay, so are any of you going to the Minneapolis conference? And
No, a lot of us are, I think,
Student teaching.
3 of us are student teaching at the moment, and we just can't take the time away from that. That's just, I mean, you all know it's a very valuable experience to get that student teaching in.
And be invested in that.
Plus, it's a lot
Yes.
of money for us, and we
Yes.
just went to Boston, so we're like, yeah, we're gonna take a break for now, but
Mhm.
maybe next
we do
year.
have though sorry, you can't see me. We do have though 6 members that are in our student chapter now that are attending. It's just not these
Us.
5 that are sitting in
Yeah.
front of you.
There's 2 in our chapter who are also presenting, which is very, very exciting.
super
Yes.
exciting.
Very excited for
Alyssa
them.
Lytle and
Carly,
Carly,
Rinda,
Rinda.
yeah.
Yes,
so look
so
for
they-
that if you're going.
They're going to be presenting in like a kind of super speed session type thing. So like a bunch of different people presenting at once. They'll have about like 10 minutes or something to present their research, but it's very exciting for them. And it's not often that Preservice gets to present at a national level.
Yeah, so go support them.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question we have is, do you have any plan to meet up with any other pre-service groups from other states? That is
I would love that.
a great suggestion.
Like for your
we-
representative, too.
We didn't have planned, the group that's going, we haven't planned anything, mostly because we don't know of any ways to reach out, but if you guys have any suggestions or any type of resources that we could use too, like I think that'd be an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll reach out and they'll meet a lot of people in that kind of speed session that 2 of them are presenting at as
Right.
well. So hopefully they kind of take advantage of that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, none of us will be able to be there in person. We would love to, but there's just,
A lot going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of things going on with school and student teaching. And
So maybe they could grab a meal with them.
yeah, that'd be really
Just
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're popping up. Someone said you should write this experience up for the School Arts magazine and submit it. School Arts
Write that
pays
down.
a,
Great idea.
can't make out that last word.
To another.
I know.
Connection.
Ooh, she
Yeah.
said a lot of these members here are just say PAEA, so I'm sorry that I'm not saying your names. But someone said Dr. Ivonic might be able to hook us up with meeting up with them.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Okay, Lisbeth, we will most definitely be in contact with you about meeting up with people from other states.
We've got
She said
connections.
it's Lisbeth.
I know, I was just saying, like, I wonder who that is.
Yeah. All right, and any other questions for us or for student chapters? If there's any professors that are on the line right now that have any suggestions for their pre-service or any questions, any pre-service members?
Can't see it.
Everyone just says, great job, ladies. It was awesome. Very nice job, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We apologize that you couldn't hear everything.
Yeah,
We did
we're
have the
sorry.
chat up at that time, so we weren't able to see that.
Yeah.
We knew we would have spoken louder, but
Use our
hopefully-
teacher voice.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're allowed
You got
to do
the
it.
gist of what we were talking about, and we've never done this before, so.
Yeah, but now we know for next time. So, Aw.
All right. I guess we're done. Now
I
what?
guess, yeah, I guess.
All right, thank you, ladies. That was absolutely fantastic. We appreciate it so much. There was so much great information tonight. So I guess we'll go ahead and close out. But yes, definitely, I appreciated your comment about for the next time, because we'll be looking forward to make sure you ladies come back and do another presentation at some point. So we really hope that you enjoyed your time with us tonight. Please make sure that you have signed in on the chat roll to verify your participation in tonight's webinar. April's webinar will be announced soon, but remember the registration links for all PAEA sponsored events are also available on the PAEA website calendar, the PAEA Facebook pages, and most likely through email from me, PAEA's Director of Programming, or your division or region reps. Remember to check your email for the Act 48 link coming soon. And that's a wrap. So good night, everyone, and thank you, ladies. I'll be in touch soon with you via email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.